Hey everybody, Mah-Dry-Bread here. Two vlogs in one day, I guess, if I can get this thing edited fast enough. But I asked in one of my previous Pokemon challenges if you guys wanted me to do Q&A videos about the challenges, and you guys seem to want it, so here we are. I've collected enough questions from you guys. Some of these are asked a lot, or advice given to me a lot, that I wanted to talk about, and then some of these are things that are just talked about a little bit, but that I thought people would be really interested in the answers to. So everything is going to be talked about in this video. We're going to be talking about game mechanics stuff and your suggestions on how to improve its stuff. We're going to be talking a lot about Generation 5 because the Bidoof challenge just came out and I got a lot of feedback on that. Going to be talking about how I structure some of these videos and on a few cheating allegations that I have had a couple times in the comments, and I just want to address how that works and everything, and how, obviously, I didn't cheat. So first, for feedback on game advice stuff. A lot of people said turn off animations while you're grinding so that you can grind faster, as in like the battle animations of the moves. I usually do that. Sometimes I genuinely forget, but normally, yeah, I do that. I leave animations on for most of the game just because it looks nicer for you guys, even if it does slow it down. But if I'm just like grinding alone, I just need to grind for a few hours, or in some cases of like Magikarp and Wobbuffet, if I need to grind for a couple days, yeah, I turn off animations. A lot of people were saying to use Safeguard to protect from Toxic in the Wobbuffet video near the end. I actually talk about this in the pinned comment on that video, but I did use Safeguard in some of my attempts. It's just the attempts of using Safeguard and the attempts of using Safeguard, Counter, Mirror Coat, all of those moves, those went so poorly that I didn't even talk about them. I realize now that I probably should have shown you a little bit of that and talked about how that didn't work just to preempt the comments, but honestly it didn't come to mind at the time. As for if that would work on beating it, you could potentially beat Tentacruel that way if the luck on what moves he's using, what moves you're using lines up. You can win through that. However, the problem is his next Pokemon has Leech Seed, and Safeguard doesn't protect you from Leech Seed. And as you saw in the video, Leech Seed is an absolute death sentence. It does damage to you based on percentage of max health, and it heals him based on the percentage of health that they steal. Which means that for the entire rest of the battle, not only would I be losing tons of health every single turn, but my opponent would be healing tons every single turn. So if you get Leech Seeded, it's just all over, basically. And Leech Seed can miss, but I would need it to miss like tons of times in a row. And if I was using Counter and Mirror Coat, I can't hit him while he's attempting Leech Seed. So it's not really a winning strategy. You would need to be insanely lucky. And at that point, I may as well just be struggling and hoping they miss over and over, so that's kind of the problem there. I had a surprising amount of comments tell me that there's no dual types in Generation 1, and in fact, every single time that I got told that, they call me, like, an idiot and stuff. Gen 1 is full of dual types. I would be surprised if less than half of types in Gen 1 are not dual types. Bulbasaur is poison and grass. You can, like, I'll show some footage right now because I've been playing this trade playthrough. Like, almost every bird in the game is, like, normal and flying. Like, there's tons of dual types. I think the reason people have this misconception, and I'm going to be talking about this in my Pokemon Red all in-game trades challenge. I think people have this misconception because there's a glitch in the game where the text is glitched. If you do a move that should be, like, say, just normal effectiveness, because one of their types is super effective and the other one is not very effective. So, I don't know, an example of that would be like using a fighting attack on a Pidgey, which is normal and flying. Flying resists fighting, and then normal is weak against fighting, so if you use a fighting move on it, it shouldn't say it's super effective or not very effective. The game will glitch and say either super effective or not very effective, but the actual math on how the damage works out does work out. So, like, you know, if you use a Thunderbolt on a Gyarados, it's flying in water, so you're going to do 4 times damage. Even if, you know, messages don't necessarily display right. A lot of people told me that I should have learned Grass Knot in the Water Gym in the Pokemon Platinum Pikachu Challenge, because I learned Grass Knot near the end of the game to beat my rival. A lot of people said that I should have been using that at the Water Gym. Yeah, you're completely right. Honestly, it didn't come to mind. I don't know why it didn't come to mind, because I was, like, every single time I got stuck on a battle, I would look at the TM list of every TM that Pikachu could learn to, like, strategize and look at it and be like, okay, what could I change about my strategy here by changing my moveset that would help me win this battle? And genuinely, for some reason, like, I looked at Grass Knot, it's right there, it's like the grass move that I could learn, and for some reason I just thought like, oh, that wouldn't win it for me. I don't know why I thought that, considering Grass Knot is a pretty powerful move. It's special, which I had forgotten about, which, my god, my special stat was really good, so that really would have helped me. But for some reason, just didn't come to mind. So yeah, every single person who said, why didn't you learn Grass Knot earlier, genuinely didn't come to mind. Don't know why, that's good advice. Especially against Quagsire, like, it's double super effective against Quagsire. There's no way it would have survived. On to structural things of how I structure these videos. Some people like that I sometimes do like a small, like, minute-long ramble about something somewhat related, but not directly related to the challenge, and then some people don't like it. They just want me to stick, like, straight to the challenge, only say the things that matter. This is mostly just an influence of the channels that I watch, I would say. I'm a really, really big fan of Ross's Game Dungeon. It is one of my favorite series on all of YouTube. And my god, the tangents he goes on are so weird and eclectic, and yet I love them, and it's a big part of why I love that show. And so I just have a little bit of that in my show. It's just kind of my tastes. But I try to keep mine more related than his. Mostly because, although I love tangents, and you know this about me, no one can make a tangent as interesting as Ross can. You guys might know him from the old viral series Mind of Freeman, the Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 machinima series, I guess you would call it. And yeah, the same guy does that. It's called Ross's Game Dungeon. Go look it up on YouTube. It is some of the best game review content I have ever seen. It is fantastic. Gen 5 stuff, though. We have a lot of feedback on Gen 5. So, first of all, a lot of people have disputed me saying that Gen 5 is slow. Most people seem to either say that Gen 4 is much slower, or in some cases Gen 1, which surprised me a little bit. So, you've seen that I've done like tons and tons of these Pokemon challenges in all different generations and everything. First thing to point out is the speed of it in a Pokemon challenge is obviously going to be very different than in a casual playthrough. We were playing like, normally with a full team of 6 and everything, and you switch out Pokemon and whatnot, rather than playing a challenge where it's one Pokemon and, it's a weak Pokemon and everything. And in that case, like, the speed of it often depends on what parts are you going to get stuck on due to your type or your weaknesses of your Pokemon. What are the grinding spots like in that area? It's a little bit arbitrary in some points. And how fast the game even runs. Like, in Gen 1 you don't have running shoes, for instance, and that does make travel a little bit slower. But what I can say is that having done all these challenges and having played through all these games many, many times, especially just as a kid playing through Gen 1, 2, and 3 a lot, I can say that Gen 1 is the fastest generation to beat by far. There's a lot, if you mean casually, there's a lot of really overpowered Pokemon that are incredibly easy to get. Kadabra can sweep the entire game. There's like 2 moves in the game that are super effective against Psychic types, and both of them have a base power 20. I think it's just Leech Life and Twin Needle in Gen 1, because Dark didn't exist, Bug had almost no attacking moves, and Ghost was supposed to be super effective, but wasn't. So Ghost moves don't work on Psychic. And because there was only a special stat, Psychic's super overpowered. Gen 1 is really fast, tech speed is fast, move animations is fast, or are fast and often quite short. It's not a super long game. Whether it's casual playthrough or like a serious playthrough, Gen 1 is really short, so I don't know where people are coming from on that. Gen 4 is really long. There's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of backtracking, the map is very large. The animations in battle tend to be quite long. It's a slower running game in general. When you hit Pokemon, the health, I find, ticks down slower than in a lot of generations. There's a lot that slows it down. And in fact, there's things in Gen 5 that they definitely did to speed it up. You can mash through text in battles a lot better than in previous ones, which I very much appreciate. The animations in Gen 5 are still very slow, though. And I think the reason that so many people think that Gen 5 is a very fast game is because when you casually play through it, you level up quite quickly. The game has a unique experience system that none of the prior games had, where it's weighted so that fighting Pokemon above your level or Pokemon from trainers gives you tons of extra experience, whereas if you're way above the level of your opponent, they give you less experience. Now, the way it worked in all the previous games is a Pokemon gives you experience based on its base experience level and its level. So, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm level 100 or level 1, beating a level 50 Chansey will give you the same number of experience points. And that number is obviously just a more valuable number for a lower level of Pokemon, just because that will equate to more levels at that point. Whereas in Gen 5, you will literally get more or less experience points depending on the level difference. This means that grinding your Pokemon up to the level of the Pokemon in the area in Gen 5 is very quick, and that's good. The problem is, it's very slow to level up Pokemon past their level up, or past the point in the area. You know, the Elite Four, for instance, is balanced so that if your Pokemon are a little bit lower level than that of the Elite Four, with a good strategy, you'll be okay. They never intended for you to be using one super weak base stat Pokemon, so naturally you're going to have to get to max level for that, to get every advantage you can, and the game is not made for that. I'm not playing the game as intended, as you can obviously tell. That's kind of the point of the challenges. And so when you're doing these challenges, Gen 5 is abysmally slow. A lot of people were asking why in the footage I wasn't grinding on, how do I pronounce this? I'm bad at Gen 5 pronunciations. We'll get into that in a minute, but Audino or it's either Audino or Adino, I think. One of those two. It's like audio, and then it is just making the word audio sound like a Pokemon. It's like that generation's Chansey. You can find it in pretty much any grassy patch in the game. I noticed them all over the game when I was playing. It's just, you know, the grass starts rustling, and if you go in there, you fight one of them. They're not that hard to kill, and they give you way more experience than most things. People were asking why I didn't grind on those. Those are fantastic for catching up your level. I will say that. However, the main problem with that is it requires that to basically just be staring at the screen and like running adjacent to some grass and waiting for them to show up. That's a time-consuming process. I probably could have done the grind a few hours faster if I did do that, but the thing is, I'm obviously working on this as a script and everything for you guys. So what I did instead, which saved me time on making the video, was by just grinding in a way where I don't need to look at the screen as much. I can just kind of have it in my peripheral vision, which is what I did, grinding in the cave before the Elite Four, the Victory Road cave, next to that doctor. It probably took a few more hours to level. However, because I could just kind of do that on the side without having to pay close attention to it, I could use that time to actually work on research for both that run, my next run, working on touching up the script, stuff like that. I was even working on editing the Yamcha one a little bit during that, editing the Yamcha video. So because of that, I actually managed to get the Yamcha video out sooner than I was thinking. I was actually going to have that done not in a week, but I got it done earlier because of that. So it did actually get you videos faster, believe it or not, although it was definitely slower for the grind for me. So that's kind of why I did that way. Next one is people saying that I get Pokemon names wrong all the time. So this is a combination of a lot of things. I'm 26 years old. Sorry, had to think about that for a second. I'm 26 years old right now. I'm about to turn 27 in September, late September. I was like 6 when Pokemon video games got translated to English and came to Canada. So naturally, I only ever watched the first season of the anime, because I wasn't really watching cartoons and stuff by the time that the other seasons were coming out. And so I had heard all of the Generation 1 Pokemon names said out loud, and so I know how to pronounce those for the most part. Not like 100%, but pretty well. And then, like, Gen 2 and Gen 3, I was still in school and everything. So, you know, my friends would be saying the names of the Pokemon, and some of them would have watched the shows. Gen 4, I was way less familiar with. I'd kind of fallen out with Pokemon by then. I was busy with other games and stuff. I would still go back and play old Pokemon games sometimes, but I wasn't playing those ones. By the time of Gen 5, I wasn't even in high school, so I didn't play Pokemon much anymore. And no one I talked to would be saying Pokemon names out loud. So, like, a lot of these Pokemon, I have never heard their name out loud before. So, I'm really bad at pronouncing them. I just kind of have to read it and guess, and even then, I'm not the greatest at that because I have aphantasia. I have no visual memory in my head. It's a disability. It sucks. it makes it so it's very hard to read these things sometimes and guess how to say them out loud, because if the word isn't directly in front of my eyes, it's basically a guess, that or I have to listen to my own audio in my head, repeating it back so that I can remember that line to say it out loud, but that's entirely just based on how I happen to be reading it at the time, which could be wrong. So there's not really much I can do about that. A lot of people asked if I'm dyslexic. No, but I do have a disability that makes reading aloud quite difficult. What you don't hear in the audio track is me cutting out flubs over and over and over. Like, the audio track is usually twice as long as what gets uploaded, because half of it is me flubbing lines and having to do them again, even though I'm reading them right off what I wrote down. So, yeah, it's difficult. I'm going to be trying... What a Geek, I think, has a pretty good knowledge of the Pokemon names. He seems to be pretty confident about how to pronounce a lot of them, and he's more knowledgeable on Pokemon than I am. So I'm probably going to be asking him for advice when it comes to newer generations of Pokemon where I'm less familiar with the names. Pretty much anything after Gen 3, I have a hard time with the names. So I'm going to be asking him for advice on that stuff. In fact, he's going to be... He just started today in looking over my scripts to give me some advice on what people might be asking so that I can revise my scripts. So they might be getting better soon because of that. So you can thank What a Geek for that. And again, we're doing a Pokemon Black and White randomizer playthrough on his channel right now. Link in the description. Stop being mean to Gen 5. I get tons of this comments of people thinking I really hate Gen 5. No, I don't hate it at all. I think Gen 5 is really well made. There's actually a lot I really like in Gen 5. I like that they let you hit the A button to skip through text during battle to speed it up if you want to. I like the mechanic of having the dust clouds in the caves or the rustling grass for a special Pokemon that's extra good for grinding and also just an extra interesting Pokemon. That's a great idea. I commend them for going heavier into the story. It's not my cup of tea that they did that, but I think it's cool that they tried it. The cutscenes look really good for the time. I'm not really into them, but they did a good job on a technical level. The reusing of TMs, that's a really great game mechanic, because it's one of those optional things. You could complain that maybe it makes the game easier, but if you ask me, it deepens the strategy, because you are more willing to experiment with moves, knowing that, the TM is infinite use. And so you're more willing to experiment with strategies, and I think that's really good. There's a ton I love in Generation 5. It's just, I was criticizing Generation 5 and the things I don't like, just like I do every other generation. You guys watch my Rattata video? I tore into Gen 1 for being a glitchy mess. I love Gen 1 because I find something funny about glitchy games. I mean, you guys know that, one of my favorite games of all time is Deadly Premonition, and that is a glitch fest. I like it in spite of its glitches. Gen 1 is barely functional in terms of glitches. It is so glitchy, and I rip on it all the time. So it's not like I don't rip on other generations. It's just that the things in Generation 5 that I don't like really bring down the enjoyment level for me, so I can understand it feeling kind of negative. It's totally fine if you love Gen 5. I'm happy you love Gen 5. I'm just happy you're into Pokemon. So, no, I don't hate Gen 5 at all. I think it's great. It's just not my favorite generation. It's not my cup of tea, And to people saying that Gen 6 and 7 are worse, I'm not super impressed overall by Gen 7 so far, and I haven't even played Gen 6 yet, so I don't want to go judging that one. But Gen 7 has a lot that's annoying me. Although I do very much like the Pokemon Stadium-style battles. That's pretty cool. Alright, the cheating allegation. So this one is... It's always frustrating to read when somebody is questioning your integrity, but I understand, they are Pokemon challenges. It's hard to believe that some of these things are even possible, and so I understand people questioning them. I wish they weren't so rude about it, because it's already kind of tense when you read somebody accusing you of that, and you know that you put on all of these hours and hours and hours making these videos for people, but... you know what? Whatever. I have the proof that I didn't cheat. So, there's two main ones that I've been told that I'm a cheater on, and they're both actually in the Bidoof one. So the first one only one guy said, and I actually tweeted about him. I went on quite the Twitter rant because he was so rude. But basically what he said was, in the Getsus fight at the end of the game, in the winning run, I didn't show myself beating Cofagrigus. I'm being told I'm still saying that wrong. I don't know how much of it is my accent and how much of it is me understanding. It's like coffin, cough, agragis, Cofagrigus. Maybe I'm putting the emphasis in the wrong part of the word. I'm not sure. Anyway, I didn't show it in the winning run, and so he accused me of using items off screen. I didn't. Actually, I don't know why he found that so unbelievable, because I had shown that I beat him on previous runs because Toxic can miss. And so I thought it was pretty obvious that just with enough, enough numbers and enough tries, with a lock, he'll just miss each time. So I didn't think I needed to show that. But I put out the proof anyway on Twitter. I'll show some of it on screen right now. But that is the full cut of the winning run right there of the Cafagarous version of the fight. You can see that the time on the touchscreen matches up with the actual in-video attempt. So that's proof. Because if you, that's the clock on the DS emulator, Desmume, shows your system time. So if I were loading states and stuff, the time wouldn't match up properly because it's always showing system time. And because I can't manipulate real life time, there's nothing I can do about that, So that's how you know that it is actually the correct attempt that I'm showing you. Second accusation of cheating, and this one I've gotten 4 or 5 times. And the video's been up for almost 24 hours now, so I think this is going to be a persistent one. This is more of an editing mistake by me more than anything. So 12 minutes into the fight, I think it was a fight with Bianca. And I'll show the footage right now for you so that we all know what we're talking about. But at the beginning of, I think it's when I beat her first or second Pokemon, a Pansear comes out, or one of that Monkey Fire evolution lines, and it says save state on screen. So it looks like what I'm doing is saving mid-battle and reloading saves in battle to get the luck in my favor and stuff. That's not what I'm doing, and in fact, the proof that I'm not doing it is actually in the challenge. I don't even need to upload extra footage for this, because if I were doing that, then there would be a time skip on the touch screen. Because what would happen is, let's say I saved there, and I failed that run, and I load back to that run. The time skips to whatever the real time is when you load a state. Just like how in every generation, if you were to load a state that you saved during the morning and now it's nighttime, it'll instantly become nighttime. It auto-adjusts to whatever the system clock is. It does the same thing in black. So if I were to be doing that, you would see minutes jumping by. It doesn't though. If you actually just watch the video and you watch the rest of the fight, the time all matches up just fine. You actually see when a minute passes by and everything, and it's not during a jump cut. It's just normal. And so you can see that that's the winning attempt. Then the question is obviously, why did I save then? The answer to why I saved was, I realized I hadn't saved the game through save state or in-game save in many hours. The game is a little bit unstable. Again, I'm playing this on Desmume, which is an emulator, so it's not the hardware version of the game. I've never seen it crash on DS, but I can't capture the screen off DS. I don't have any equipment for that, so I just do it on emulator. So I realized I hadn't saved in many hours, and better safe than sorry. If I were to have some freak thing happen, power outage or emulator freeze or anything like that, the video would not be out on time. So I just did a save state right there. Again, no plans on cheating. If I were to lose the fight, obviously I just go back to the last Poke Center. I could do a proper in-game save and go try the fight again. Then comes the obvious question though of, okay, why didn't you just cut out where it says save state then, so that no one would have even accused you of cheating? I'm dumb and didn't notice. To be honest, if you look at the video there's enough time after when save state goes away that I could have easily just cut that out and no one would be any the wiser. I didn't notice it. My eyes just kind of blurred to it in editing. That's me being sloppy. Sorry about that. If any of you are questioning my integrity and worried about that, sorry. I'm just an idiot. If you want, I'll put on screen that bit of footage again so we all know what we're talking about or something. But you can see the time code in the top right. It all matches up just fine. It was actually just that one attempt. It all went off normal. Nothing really special. If you want proof, though, that it freezes, because I know, that's a big claim. You might not have had it freeze. Twice, actually, in the What a Geek randomizer, I've had my emulator freeze. So I'll cut in some footage right now. This first bit of footage is from episode 3, I think it is, of What a Geek series. That's actually uploaded today if you want to watch me freeze live. So this is his version of the footage.
Yeah, probably Hurricane. Because with Mimic, at least I can potentially get a physical move to make use of Swords Dance. I guess just so I can have something to deal damage.
Did my game crash? Oh no, my game just crashed.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I just started the battle and it just stopped. I didn't know crashing could happen. That freeze made us have to stop recording that day. We lost so much time because I hadn't done a single save the whole game. So I had to go back in with like the turbo mode button thing and recreate my save file, basically. It sucked. And then in episode... It'll probably be like episode 5 or 6. It hasn't aired yet, but we've already recorded the next session. I freeze again. So I'll show you my footage version of that because that episode hasn't been fully made yet. It's like if I say, the Hitler. I'm sure Hitler's a very common surname. You know which one.
You know which one.
Oh, god damn it. It crashed again, and I don't think I saved.
I wonder why it's doing that.
I don't know, and I don't think I've saved since the beginning of the episode because I forgot to. Fuck. It's 20 minutes. Hold on, let me restart the emulator. Did it auto-save when I got the C gear?
No, it never auto-saves.
Nope! Woo! Why is it crashing? I don't know. Now, that freeze only cost me like 20 minutes, thankfully, because I wasn't that far into the game when it froze. But as you can see, I sometimes freeze at the start of trainer battles, and so I was very nervous, and I'm trying to save often. In fact, when you watch those videos, when you watch the second full session when it goes up, you'll hear me all the time saying, I should save more, and then just forgetting to save all the time, because you see the saves on screen when I do them. You guys know I'm really, really bad about saving, and after seeing those freezes, put the fear of God into me. So I had to save often. Obviously, I would never cheat with those save states or anything. It is just so that I don't lose many, many hours of these challenges, of progress in these challenges. I don't cheat the fights. That takes the whole point out of the what's it called? Of the challenge. If I did cheat the fights, I would have beaten the Wobbuffet challenge, but as you guys all know, depressingly, I didn't beat that challenge. I just legitimately couldn't pull it off. I'm sure there's some strategy I could have figured out to win that, or maybe even if I just had the most ungodly good luck in the world, I probably could have beat the Wobbuffet one. But, like, if I cheated with items or something and just, was really slick with editing, I probably could have pulled it off, but that's not fun, and that's being dishonest to you guys, so I don't cheat. I'm probably going to get called a cheater for the rest of my life by some people because they're just going to click the video, they're going to see the save state, they're not going to notice the time on screen, and so they'll just think I'm cheating, and, you know, they're never going to see the tweets or this video or anything. So that's a bummer. That genuinely does kind of get to me a little bit because it's like, I put all this work in, and some people are going to think I'm a cheat, and there's nothing I can really do about that. Maybe if you see somebody saying that, just direct them to this video in the timecode and be polite to them. There's no need to be mean on the internet. Enough people are mean to me today. But I'm still happy though. I had fun with it, even if like a lot of people are very negative on that video because a lot of people are very defensive about Generation 5 and they thought I was too harsh on it. And you know what? It's cool that you like the game, and it's fine that I don't like it. Everyone has different opinions. It's not necessarily even that I don't like it. It's that I like the other generations before it more. And, yeah, I don't know. The next challenge I already fully recorded, and I'm working on editing right now. That's the in-game trade Pokemon Red one. Had a lot of fun with that. I'm already having a lot of fun with the one after that. I'm ahead of time on work for once, which is really nice. So that's awesome. I'm really proud of myself for working so hard on this. And I got verified on YouTube today. It's funny because even the YouTube person that reached out to me and said like, hey, you're at 100,000 subscribers, so we're looking into verifying your account. They let me know like, hey, we verified you, your badge should show up, like your badge next to your name on YouTube will be here in the next few days. I'm like, cool, thanks. It took them like 20 minutes, that's it. So I'm verified, that's pretty fucking cool. Sorry if I came across really negative in the Bidoof video, I apologize. I don't mean to bum you guys out or anything like that, because I do have a lot of fun making the challenges. Although that one was quite the slog. I was getting pretty burnt out near the end of that one, so that explains a little bit of it. But they're my honest opinions. You know, you guys know that I wouldn't lie to you or anything, and that I really appreciate honesty. And to the people that are telling other people on the comments of that video, like, don't yell at MDB, blah blah blah, and like getting really mad at them too, please don't do that. I appreciate that you want to defend me and everything, but be positive. If you want to say something to them, just say like, hey, he doesn't hate the game, he's just being critical of the things he doesn't like. And, you know, look at the pinned comment. He says that he's perfectly fine with you loving the game. If you want to say anything to them, say something like that. Just be positive, even if they're being negative. because maybe they're just having a bad day. You never know. You're not in their shoes, so I tried to look on the bright side of it. Stuff sucks, but why dwell on the 5 people who think I'm cheating on the game, or was it 500 people who disliked the video, when I can focus on the 7,000 or 8,000 people who liked the video, and all the positive comments, and all the crazy amount of people who subscribe to it. There's way more positive than there is negative about this, and even though humans are kind of hardwired to pay attention to the negative, I'm trying not to do that. As you guys saw last year, the year was all about trying to make me a better me, both through fitness and work ethic and everything. Well, I can't let this stuff keep getting to me, because that's it's part of growing up, I guess. Anyway, that's it for the first Q&A video. If you have any questions, obviously leave them in the comments or tweet them at me on Twitter and everything. Check out my 100 subscriber video if you want to see my life goals and everything that I've made for before I'm 28 years old, because I'm turning 27 soon. And I've got to go get ready for my Crusader Kings 2 stream, because it's starting in half an hour, and I'm not going to be able to edit and upload this video before that. Oh, it's a big, heavy work day. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Until next time, have a nice day.